In this video, I want to talk about one of my absolute favorite techniques to fish, which is a drop shot. Now, more specifically, I want to talk about summertime drop shot fishing. And I actually have 5 different tips that I think will help you to catch a lot more fish this summer. Now, before we get into the video, this one's brought to you by my apparel company, Fin Fishing. Right now for the month of June 2024, so just a few more days, I am running a sale where you can get a USA made sun shirt, a pair of sun gloves, and a bass hat with a wooden bass badge, all for $84 plus free shipping. And I actually just got these new colored bass hats on. It's this duck camo, and honestly, this is probably my favorite hat that I've ever had. I absolutely love it. Now, all you got to do is add the sun shirt to cart, add the sun gloves to cart, add the hat to cart. It will automatically discount at checkout. It is the best way to help support this channel, and I greatly appreciate it. All right, let's talk about drop shot fishing. Like I said, this is one of my absolute favorite techniques. I have a drop shot rigged up with me throughout the entire year, like through the entire year, but especially during the summer. Now, in the summer, there's a few things that I really closely pay attention to, because in the summer, you're also dealing with just a lot of pressure, and you're dealing with fish that are just used to seeing a lot of baits. So sometimes this little tips and tricks here can help you to get a few extra bites when you're out there on the water. Now, the first thing of 5 that I want to talk about is actually your soft plastic. Every single drop shot has a soft plastic on it, and there are hundreds of different soft plastics that you can put on a drop shot, and they probably all can work at times, but I like to keep fishing as simple as I can, and I'm just gonna come out here and say it, that if you are overwhelmed by all the different drop shot baits, just get you a straight-tailed worm just like this. This is a robo worm. It's a fat 6-inch worm. I use this thing everywhere. All across the country, I have used this exact same worm, and I've caught bass on it. Smallmouth bass, largemouth bass, spotted bass. So just, if you are overwhelmed by all these different drop shot baits, just keep things simple. Go with a straight tail worm like this robo worm. You're going to catch fish. I truly believe that anglers spend too much time worrying about their colors, what they're putting on there as far as their drop shot bait goes, and that keeps them from actually catching fish. So just go with a color like this. This is a purple. It's called a margarita mutilator. I think it's MM3 on the websites a lot of times. And then just something more natural like a green pumpkin, and you're good to go. So anyways, straight-tailed worms are the way to go. All right, second thing that I want to talk about is actually your weight, and specifically the size of your weight. Now, a number of years ago, I remember hearing a West Coast angler, I don't think it was Aaron Martins, but it may have been Aaron Martins, and he was talking about how you will actually get more bites by using less weight, like a smaller weight size. And I'm gonna be honest, when I first heard of that, it really didn't make that much sense to me, because I thought, you know what, your weight is on the bottom of your plastic. Like, is it really impacting the number of bites that you are getting? Anyways, fast forward a number of years, I was fishing a tournament on Lake Champlain up in New York, and I had been using a 3/8 and a 1/2 ounce weight literally for a week straight, catching a ton of smallmouth. Well, on the second day of this tournament, it completely slacked off on Lake Champlain. The most slick, dead calm, glass calm I have ever seen it. And I completely stopped getting bites from smallmouth, and I had been catching them pretty consistently. Now, I remembered what Aaron Martins said, and I think it was Aaron Martins. Actually, I don't know if it was Aaron Martins. Anyways, I switched from a 3/8 ounce weight to a 1/4 ounce weight, the exact same drop shot, the exact same leader length, everything was the exact same except for the weight, and I started catching fish almost immediately. And it blew my mind. It really, really blew my mind, because I never thought that the weight would matter that much. Now, fast forward to where I am now, what I try to do when I fish a drop shot is I go with the lightest weight that I can get away with. And the reason being is that if you throw a drop shot into a pool and look at how that worm looks when you have a 1/2 ounce weight on the bottom versus a 1/4 ounce weight on the bottom, it looks vastly different. The one that has a 1/4 ounce has a lot more natural movement to it. When you have a 1/2 ounce weight or even bigger down there, it really makes that line very taut, like I'm holding it right now. And it doesn't give that worm, even when you're jiggling it, a lot of movement. And it's really unbelievable. And at times, in highly pressured situations or dead calm situations, it can make a huge difference in the number of bites that you get, just like it did that day for me. So what I've learned is the lightest weight you can get away with, throw that, because that is going to help you get more bites. Now, there's also a double-edged sword. You got to make sure that you are feeling the bottom. If it's super windy out and you're fishing 50 foot of water, you're not going to be able to fish a 1/4 ounce weight. You have to step it up to be able to get a good feel for the bottom. But typically the lightest weight you can get away with, especially during the summer, the more bites you are going to get. That's really important. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the leader length. This is another big thing that when I first started getting into drop shot fishing, I always made my leader lengths the exact same. And usually it's about like it is right here. It's 12 to 18 inches. I'd say that is what I do a lot. Now, over the years, I have found, especially in late summer, if you watch fish on your 2D sonar, and now especially with live, it seems like the later in the summer you get, the higher off the bottom those fish will position. And it's not always like 6 or 7 foot. It's that they go from being right on the bottom or a foot off the bottom to all of a sudden they're 2 foot off the bottom or 3 foot off the bottom. And I have found a number of days out there when I'm fishing where simply increasing my leader length, going from 12 to 18 inches to 36 inches, so a 3 foot leader, will make all the difference in the world on the number of bites that you can get. I remember being in a boat fishing another local tournament where a guy literally was like looking at me like thinking I was weird. He's like, dude, that's a really long leader. And it's because I was throwing a 3 foot long leader. It was the end of summer. He did not catch a single fish on a drop shot that day, and I caught several. I mean, I weighed in my whole limit off a drop shot. And now, I'm not saying that that's always the difference, but I have found, especially in late summer, those long drop shot leaders can really help you to catch more fish. Now, moving on to number 4, and I actually want to talk about fishing a drop shot shallow. I think a lot of anglers believe that drop shots are a deeper water bait or an offshore bait or not a pond bait. For example, a drop shot, I throw it all the time up shallow, and I throw it in ponds. You know, some people still think that this is a vertical technique, and I almost never fish a drop shot vertically anymore. It's always casting it and dragging it across the bottom. And one of the best things that I have found is fishing it shallow, fishing it in places where you don't think a lot of other guys are fishing a drop shot. For example, I did this and I found out all about this real kind of secondhand by a co-angler that whooped my butt. I was fishing the James River a number of years ago. He was fishing behind me. I was flipping and pitching a beaver style bait. He was fishing a drop shot. Dude put it on me, caught more fish, and he caught bigger fish that day. And so it just goes to show you a drop shot is still a very effective bait, even in really shallow water. Now, if you're fishing it in a foot of water, 2 foot of water, you're probably gonna wanna have a shorter leader length, something more like 3 to 8 inches, something that's fairly shallow. But don't ever pass up fishing a drop shot shallow. It can get you bites when no other shallow bait will get you bites. Now, the next thing that I wanna talk about, it kind of goes along with what I just talked about, and this is the 5th thing, heavy cover drop shot fishing. Anytime you get to a body of water and you see heavy cover, maybe it's a wooden laydowns, maybe it's reeds, whatever it may be, about 80 out of 81 guys, I don't know why I picked that statistic, but a lot of the guys that are fishing those exact same areas are not going to pick up a drop shot. And what you can do is pick up what they call a Bubba shot, or what I used to call as a power shot. That's what I originally heard of it. And this is basically a drop shot weight or a drop shot rig on a bait cast rod and reel. So I will fish it on 20-pound line with a bait caster, and I'm fishing a drop shot and I'm showing fish in heavy cover, something that they've never seen, and therefore it will get you a lot of bites. So guys, that is all about drop shot fishing, especially in summertime. I hope you enjoyed this video. And don't forget to check out Fin Fishing. I will see you in the next one.